Hi, today I want to talk about the pencil. Did you know that there are actually lots of different types of pencils for drawing? So today I made a series of TikToks explaining a lot of the pencils and what all those crazy numbers mean. So we're going to start with that, and then I'm going to show you a fun technical drawing skill to do with some pencils. Hello, it's Getting to Know Your Art Supplies, the pencil. The typical pencil core is made out of graphite and clay, then the core is cased in wood. Today I'm trying out the 5H pencil. H stands for hard. The higher the number, the harder it is. The hard pencils have more clay than graphite, so it's lighter in color. It's also harder to smudge. So that makes the 5H pencil good for technical drawing, such as drafting plans for a building or drawing detailed lines. Pencils actually dig into the paper a bit and leave a trail of graphite on the paper. So unlike pens which dispense ink onto the paper, the pencil's graphite can be lifted off the paper with an eraser. The 5H is so light it's easy to erase, but be careful and draw lightly or you are likely to leave pressure marks on your paper. Today I'm trying out the 2H pencil. Again, H stands for hard. This pencil is a lower number H than yesterday, so it should be darker and a little easier to smudge. One nice thing about hard pencils is that they stay sharper longer and they can be sharpened to a very fine point. That is why they are great for drawing fine, accurate lines. The 2H erased pretty well but left pressure marks just like the 5H. Today I'm using HB. The HB pencil is in the middle of the HB scale. The HB is considered to be the same as the number 2 pencil in the US scale. It's the same pencil older millennials had to use on Scantrons. It's pretty easy to erase and it can smudge a bit. Like and follow to learn more. Today I'm using a 2B pencil. B stands for black. B pencils have less clay and more graphite, so it leaves darker marks and smudges easily. The 2B is my personal favorite because it is smooth to draw with, but it still erases fairly easily. Today I'm using 6B. B stands for black. The higher the number, the darker it is. 6B is very smooth to draw with, but it is so soft it's hard to make a fine line. It is also difficult to erase if you press down hard or smudge it. So now that we've learned all that great information about pencils, I want to show you how to do a grid drawing. This is a great technique to use for pencil drawing, and it's a really good exercise to get your hands, your brain, your eyes, all of them talking together so you can make that pencil go where you want to go and look the way you want it to look. The idea of using a grid for drawing has actually been around for a really long time. Here is an illustration done by Albrecht Dürer in the 1500s, over 500 years ago. Back in the 1500s, they didn't have photographs that they could draw a nice little grid on like we are going to do today. Instead, they placed the objects that they were going to draw on the other side of a screen, and that screen would be marked out with a grid, usually with ropes and things like that. And then their paper would have the corresponding squares to where the ropes are. And this is a thing artists have been using for a very long time. Even contemporary artists use it. A lot of muralists use it. It's a great way to take something small and make it bigger. And this tool really helps it look realistic. So the first thing you need is a picture. I'm choosing MLK because he is the person we've been talking about all week. And then you'll also need a piece of paper that is twice the size of your photo. So my photo is 3 inches by 4.5 inches. So my piece of paper is 6 inches by 9 inches. Okay, let's get started. Oh, you'll also need some pencils. Okay, so the thing you have to do first is make sure that your picture and the paper you are drawing on are the same ratio. So that means I'm looking at my paper, and my paper is 9 inches going down and 6 inches going across. And I got that size paper because of my photograph, because my photograph is 4.5 inches going down and 3 inches going across. So because that, I doubled both of those numbers. 4.5 plus 4.5 is 9, so that's the length. And 3 plus 3 is 6, so that's the width going across. Now, because it is doubled, I'm going to have to make a grid using those same ratios and proportions. So to make it easy, I've decided to just do a 1/2 inch grid. That means at the top and bottom, I'm just going to be marking out a 1/2 an inch across the top, and across this bottom, I will be doing the same thing, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and I'll connect those lines together. Then I'll do the same thing going across, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and I will have made a grid for my photograph. So after I drew the grid on my photograph, it's time for me to draw a grid on my paper. Remember, my paper is twice as big, so my marks for the grid are going to be twice as big. I was doing a 1/2 inch on the photograph, so now I'll be marking every inch, and I'm going to do it on the top and bottom and then from side to side, and I should get a nice grid happening. It is really important that your grid is good. If it's off, if the lines are crooked, if you're not using a ruler correctly, everything will be off. The point of this project is to be very accurate because it is a technical drawing activity. So now we've made the grids, we need to use the grid as a tool. So the grid on your paper, you're going to look closely there and see what shapes are there, what shades are there. Do I need to press down harder to make it darker? Should I go very lightly to make it lighter? Should I be using a darker pencil if I have it, or a lighter pencil if I have it? I like to start, there's kind of two ways about doing this. I like to start by kind of drawing out all of the areas and the shape. That just helps me. Some people, it works really well. They just go square by square. They look at this square, they draw exactly what they see, they move on to the next square, and the next square, and the next square. But for me, my brain doesn't work that way, so I like to just kind of draw out all of the outlines and then fill it in kind of as I go, because when I draw, I get really frustrated sometimes when it's not looking right, and so I can't just like sit there working on the eye for 20 minutes. Instead, I like work on it, and then I'm like, okay, I'm frustrated, I'm going to work on the ear, and then I might come back to the eye or move to the lips or whatever it is, and I just keep going back and forth. So try both ways and see what works for you. So another trick you might want to try is to turn your paper upside down and the photograph upside down. This kind of tricks our mind into not looking at what we think we see, because we already know kind of what the shape of an eye might be, or we might already know what the shapes of lips might be. So we kind of just pretend and make it look like what we think it should look like, instead of making it look what it actually looks like. So when you turn something upside down, you might have done this trick before, it can really help you see the shapes a lot better than if you're looking at it right side up. Again, this doesn't work for everybody, but it's worth a try to see if it works better for you. So I am going to keep working on this, and in the part 2 of this series, I will be talking all about erasers. So be on the lookout for that. As always, we would love for you to subscribe to our channel, like the videos, and check out our other social media pages.